On debate, Senator Cordy.
Thank you, Speaker. Honourable Senators, I rise today to speak at second reading in support of Bill 282, an act respecting a national strategy for children and youth in Canada. I would also like to acknowledge Senator Moody and her tireless efforts in advocating for the protection of Canadian children and youth, whether in her life as a paediatrician or with this bill and her previous attempts to establish an office of the Commissioner for Children and Youth in Canada. Honourable Senators, Bill S-282 is a natural extension of the government's commitment to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which was adopted by the UN General Assembly in November 1989 and ratified by Canada in December 1991. The Convention on the Rights of the Child is the most ratified United Nations treaty to date. Almost 200 nations have signed on. It is unfortunate that it is now 25 years since the adoption of the resolution, and a national Canadian strategy may now need to be established to meet our commitments under the treaty. That's not to say the federal government has been idle. In 1989, with all-party support, Parliament pledged to end child poverty in Canada by the year 2000. Unfortunately, they had to renew this pledge in 2009 and then again in 2015. Earlier this year, we amended and passed in this place Bill C-35, an act respecting early learning and childcare in Canada, which set out the Government of Canada's commitment to maintaining long-term funding relating to early learning and childcare across Canada, and created the National Advisory Council on Early Learning and Childcare. More recently, we saw the federal government commit $1 billion to support school meal programs across the country to provide meals to vulnerable students to help meet their nutritional needs. The child care agreements and the food program support are excellent examples of the government recognizing and addressing specific gaps in child and youth needs in Canada. However, what seems to be missing and what Bill S-282 aims to accomplish is to have the government consider a more holistic approach when it comes to investing in the well-being and growth of Canada's children and youth. Bill S-282 proposes to establish a national strategy which would facilitate collaboration across jurisdictions to meet the needs of Canadian children and youth and to ensure their right of a standard of living adequate for their physical, mental, spiritual, and social development. We have a challenging task ahead of us. After several years of a pandemic, which was very hard on families, especially on children, with armed conflicts around the world and unprecedented global population displacement, the plight of children's rights worldwide has deteriorated significantly over a short period of time. Reversing these trends will take time and hard work. In the 2023 Kids' Rights Index report, it was stated, and I quote, "These events alongside others have resulted in the loss of lives, denial of basic rights, unfulfilled needs, a limiting of potential, and an increase in poverty levels, which are affecting children in every country across the world and will continue to do so for generations," unquote. They also found that 1 in 4 children worldwide now live in poverty. Honourable Senators, that number is astounding and unacceptable. The Kids' Rights Index is the only global ranking survey that annually measures how children's rights are respected worldwide and also to what extent countries are committed to improving the rights of children. The Kids' Rights Index is an initiative of the Kids' Rights Foundation, which works in cooperation with the Erasmus University in Rotterdam, the Erasmus School of Economics, and the International Institute of Social Studies. It comprises a ranking of all UN member states that have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and for which sufficient data is available. As of 2023, a total of 193 countries are part of the index. Honourable Senators, Canada is not insulated from the detrimental factors affecting children's rights worldwide. We know all too well that the cost of living has risen significantly, with grocery prices and home prices rising, along with a housing crisis, which is drastically affecting Canada's most vulnerable and marginalized. Today, over 1 million Canadian children live below the poverty line. In my province of Nova Scotia, we've seen the poverty rate rise as well. Campaign 2000 and the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, Nova Scotia's 2023 report card on child and family poverty in Nova Scotia, found that, and I quote, poverty rates increased in Nova Scotia in 2021 from 18.4% to 20.5%. This increase is the highest single-year increase since 1989, when the federal government committed to eliminating child poverty in Canada. A poverty rate of 20.5% represents 35,330 children living in low-income families, or more than 1 in 5 children in Nova Scotia. The significant rise in the cost of living and the end of government pandemic financial supports were seen as the biggest factors for this trend. Colleagues, Clause 2AI of the bill clearly states that a national strategy for children and youth in Canada must include the elimination of child poverty in Canada. And as poverty may be a major root cause to other challenges for children in Canada, it should not be the sole focus of a national strategy. Mitigating the effects of climate change, institutional and systemic racism, child exploitation and abuse, access to health care, and ensuring safety are all factors. UNICEF Canada's 2019 Canadian Index of Child and Youth Wellbeing baseline report looked at 125 different indicators for each child to map their well-being and to track government progress. The index brings together a wide range of data into one framework to encourage a comprehensive and balanced view of how kids in Canada are faring and where gaps exist. This data should serve as a guide for government policy and focus. Honourable Senators, it has been a tumultuous several years for Canadians with the pandemic, world conflicts, and an unprecedented global population displacement. Bill S-282 and its call for a national strategy for children and youth in Canada mandates constant vigilance and assessment through reporting to Parliament at regular intervals. An effective national strategy must be based on policies derived from solid, comprehensive scientific evidence and data, respect and collaboration with the different jurisdictions that make up Canada, including Indigenous governing bodies and organizations that serve and represent First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children and youth. Honourable Senators, goals and milestones must be assessed regularly, and policies must be able to pivot and be revised when necessary. To quote UNICEF's 2019 Canadian Index of Child and Youth Wellbeing Baseline Report, and I quote, "The true measure of a nation's standing is how well it attends its children, their health and safety, their material security, their education and socialization, and their sense of being loved, valued, and included in the families and societies to which they were born," unquote. For our sake, Honourable Senators, and that of future generations, let us show our children that they were born into a country that values them and their successes, and that truly considers all aspects of their care. Again, I wish to thank Senator Moody for her dedication to Canada's youth and for her hard work on the issue of children and youth well-being. I look forward to hearing from Canadians when this bill is sent to committee. Thank you.